Right now on Retiring Today.
Birthdays sure are fun to celebrate, but they take on a whole new meaning for you, especially when it comes to required minimum distributions, tax planning, and charitable giving.
We'll discuss how to build a plan that will have you celebrating those birthdays.
We're celebrating 70 and a half right now on Retiring Today. Welcome to Retiring Today. In this episode, we're celebrating a birthday. It's a big one, 70 and a half. I'm here with Loren Merkle. He's a certified financial planner. Abby Huntrods is an investment advisor representative. And 70 and a half, we have a cake. We're celebrating, we have a cake. It's a lot of fun. Guys, how do you like to celebrate your birthday? Loren, what do you like to do?
What do I like to do? Spend time with my daughter.
Abby, what do you do on your birthday?
I'm not a big birthday celebrator, so
You're
family
like
time.
my husband. Yeah. You don't celebrate?
I mean, after 25, there's really not a lot of exciting things to celebrate, I guess, unless we get to 59 and a half or 70 and a half.
Great point. So 70 and a half is a birthday to celebrate, especially when we're talking about, of course, what the two of you specialize in, which is retirement planning. Sitting down with families and helping them plan out a retirement that gets them to and through retirement successfully. So 70 and a half is important because there are a lot of things you have to think about. But before we really talk about 70 and a half, I think we should briefly mention another half birthday that you in the financial industry celebrate, and that's 59 and a half. Abby, why is that an important one to remember as well?
59 and a half is important because it allows you to take control of a lot of your investable assets. So if you're still working for an employer, a lot of times you have the ability to take control of those 401k plans through an in-service distribution. And the other thing that at 59 and a half you're now eligible to do is access those retirement accounts without any sort of early distribution penalties. So there's a lot of freedom and flexibility in that age.
And if you want more information on 59 and a half and how it can affect your retirement, go to our YouTube channel. We did a whole show on it, so there's lots of great stuff there. But today we're focusing on 70 and a half. And Loren, why is that a significant age?
70 and a half is significant because this is when Uncle Sam starts to force you to collect. What I mean by that is Uncle Sam starts to force you to take money out of your accounts so Uncle Sam can collect. From the IRAs, the 401k plans, the pre-tax monies, at 70 and a half, now you have to take out what's called required minimum distributions. This is what we refer to as this tax torpedo, because it does just kind of sneak up on you. All of a sudden, even if you don't want to, you have to take these monies out, pay taxes on it, and then you can do whatever you want with the money after you pay taxes on it, but the key is you have to pay taxes on it.
And this is important because it fits into an overall retirement plan.
As you come closer to retirement and you go through retirement, the retirement plan is really what becomes important because you have to make these decisions. You have these deadlines that you're going to encounter, like 59 and a half, 70 and a half, 63 and a half is another birthday that we haven't talked about.
There's another show idea.
There's another show. But all of these decisions you're going to have to make, many of these decisions are permanent. The retirement plan, in our case, what we've done is we've condensed a lot of the concerns, a lot of the objectives that retirees, pre-retirees are trying to accomplish into 5 simple, easy to understand components called the Merkel retirement method. So we have the income piece, we have the tax planning piece, we have the investment planning piece. All of those pieces are what we're going to focus on today as we talk about this and the significance of the 70 and a half birthday. Because it's the 70th and a half birthday focuses on the retirement accounts. The vast majority of the wealth in this country is in retirement accounts, IRAs, 401k plans, and at 70 and a half, that's when they're mandated to take distributions from them. When you take distributions from them, you're going to have to pay taxes on them. It's just a matter of how much. And people also use these accounts to deliver the majority of their income in retirement.
Okay, and this is so important that Abby Huntrods now is going to break it down for us and show us what it looks like.
Oftentimes there is a lot of confusion around when the first RMD needs to be taken or satisfied because it depends on when in the calendar year you turn 70 and a half, which isn't something that a lot of people pay attention to. So today we have an example for you to show you kind of how that timeline might play out if you happen to have a little later birthday like this situation. So in this example we have Bob, and Bob is turning 70 in August of 2019, which means he won't be 70 and a half until February of 2020. So a lot of times there's a misconception here that the first RMD needs to be taken in the year 2020. But you actually have a little bit more flexibility in the first year. So you can wait all the way till April 1st of 2021 before you have to take that first RMD. With that in mind, however, that will mean in the second year, because you're still going to be mandated to take out these distributions each year, now you're going to have to take another RMD also in 2021 by December 31st. And from then on out, they'll always be by December 31st that you'll have to have satisfied that required minimum distribution. So there's a little bit of flexibility there in the first year. If you're going to implement some different tax strategies, you have some wiggle room, or you may or may not have to take it in the first calendar year of being 70 and a half.
So when you take your RMD, needs to be evaluated, especially in that first year that you're required to do so. There could be some opportunities for you if you choose not to take that RMD until, in this case, 2020. Because what it does, let's say you were working all the way up until July of 2019, which means you have this earned income that's coming in. Well, if you take that RMD, that might push you into a higher tax bracket that would not be advantageous for you. So in that case, you might choose to decide to delay that RMD until 2020, where now you're going to have the two RMDs, but you're not going to have the earned income. So there's a lot of variables that will determine when you're going to take that first RMD, but it's just nice to have the flexibility as long as you can keep track of the rules and make sure you use them to your advantage.
What does taking an RMD look like? Do you file some paperwork? Do they contact you? What do you do?
You probably will receive some letters from the different places that your accounts are held at, but the government isn't going to prompt you to be proactive with those RMDs. It's entirely your responsibility to make sure they're satisfied.
Is completely your responsibility. I think that's a great point, because even though these institutions where your money's at is supposed to send you a letter saying this is when you have to take the RMD out, this is the amount that you're going to have to take out, ultimately that responsibility is yours. And sometimes those letters get lost. You know, sometimes you just never receive them for a multitude of reasons. So the responsibility is yours. So this is something that we don't want to ignore. 70 and a half is a big birthday. You want to make sure you do take out what you're supposed to take out. That way you're not penalized.
So 70 and a half is an important birthday if you do what you do. But for most of us, it's not something we're going to celebrate. When you're helping people construct a retirement plan, is that kind of the job of the retirement planner too, to have this kind of earmark to do these kinds of things?
Yeah, 70 and a half, actually we start talking about 70 and a half and the responsibilities that you have way before you're ever 70 and a half. So our families, even at 65 or even at 59 and a half, they already know 70 and a half is coming. Here's what we're planning for. Because a lot of the tax planning strategies that you can implement, you will want to implement prior to 70 and a half. 70 and a half just happens. Now we have to follow the rules at that point. But yes, we take the lead on that to make sure that these deadlines are hit so we don't have penalties. Because if you have a penalty, you have a 50% penalty on if you miss that deadline. So if you were required to take out $10,000 from your IRA, now your penalty is $5,000 and you still have to take the $10,000 out and you're taxed on the entire distribution. So this is pretty heavy stuff. We don't want to miss it. We want to make sure we hit the deadlines and take out what we are mandated to take out.
Okay, some important things. We're going to continue talking about what you do when you turn 70 and a half when it comes to your retirement plan when Retiring Today continues.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkel Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
You made it. Years of hard work, investing, planning, and now you're here. The long-awaited reward you spent a lifetime looking forward to. But what now? After years of growing a nest egg, now you may want to manage it. Use it to fund your dreams. Make it last as long as you need it. And leave some for those you love. So what do? Wall Street continues to be uncertain, and some conservative options have dropped through the floor. How do you maintain opportunities for growth and reduce risk of loss from market changes? That's where we come in. We are Merkel Retirement Planning, your personal retirement planners. From investments to tax reduction strategies, with our Merkel retirement method, we can help you reach your retirement goals. You worked a lifetime to get here. Let us help you enjoy it to the fullest. For a complimentary visit, simply contact us today. Merkel Retirement Planning.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. I'm here with Loren Merkle, Certified Financial Planner, and Abby Huntrods, Investment Advisor Representative. And we've got a cake on the table because we're celebrating 70 and a half. You don't celebrate half birthdays very often. You guys don't celebrate your half birthdays.
6.5 maybe was the last time I did.
Yes, yeah. Nash, I'm sure celebrates half birthdays at his young age, your son. But when you're a pre-retiree or a retiree, 70 and a half is significant. We outlined that in the first segment a little bit. And now we're going to talk about some more advanced things that you would sit down maybe and talk with your retirement planner about when it comes to 70 and a half. But Loren, the key is you need to do these things before you're 70 and a half.
Ideally, one of the things we talk about is it usually is not too late. Meaning even if you're 72 years old and this is the first time you've heard this thing called Roth conversion, it doesn't necessarily mean it's too late. But ideally, you would like to tackle these issues well in advance of 70 and a half because it gives you the best opportunity to maximize your resources, and that's what this retirement planning is about.
Okay, so there's some conversions that can take place that can be advantageous, Abby?
Yeah. First, I want to start off by explaining, I guess, just the difference between a Roth and a pre-tax account. So a Roth IRA is going to be not tax deductible on the front side. However, as that account grows, it grows completely tax-free, so you get to keep all of the earnings, all of the growth in that account, and it is also not subject to the required minimum distributions that other pre-tax accounts are. So that's an important distinction just to know.
Yeah.
That means at 70 and a half, you're not mandated to take distributions out. So that's really powerful because you can allow these accounts to grow and grow and grow, and you're 90 years old, you've never had to take anything out of it, and eventually when you do, it comes to you tax-free.
Or to your beneficiaries tax-free.
That's right.
It can be a very powerful tool.
That is, I think, an important clarification. And Loren, now back to the conversions, you can kind of explain what that looks like.
Yeah, these Roth conversions, they don't necessarily have to be all that difficult. It's just like any of these strategies we talk about, we just have to do them the right way. So essentially, what we're doing is we have this bucket of money over here. This is pre-tax money. It grows tax deferred. We've never paid a dime of tax on this bucket of money. What we're going to do in this conversion is we're going to take some money, whatever's appropriate for the strategy you're implementing, and we're going to shift it over into this Roth bucket. And now once it's in this Roth bucket, it's going to grow tax-free forever. Now, any of this money we take from the pre-tax bucket and shift to the Roth bucket, we will pay federal and state tax on it in the year that we take that money and convert it to the Roth. So that's the strategy hook, if you will, is we want to make sure that we're converting the right amount where you're not going to be pushed into a too high of a tax bracket where that strategy no longer makes sense. And we want to make sure that we do ample enough amount to make sure that it's really meaningful and impactful to you from a tax perspective as you go through the course of retirement. So the amount of what we do is really where the large part of the Roth conversion strategy comes into play.
Okay, and we're celebrating 70 and a half. Another reason to celebrate, Abby, for some people is what you can do with charitable giving at that age.
Absolutely. So when you turn 70 and a half, you can go ahead and use those required minimum distributions that you're going to be mandated to take out and go ahead and give those distributions to the charities, churches of your choosing, instead of having to take the money yourself and pay tax on it. In doing that, then the charity also doesn't have to pay tax because of the rules around charitable organizations. So a really powerful way to implement this is, say you're giving on a monthly basis to an organization already with after-tax dollars coming out of your checking account. Instead of using that money for monthly giving, now you can kind of earmark a piece of your RMD and go ahead and give that to the charity instead, because now you don't have to pay tax on it and neither do they.
And just in case it sounds like that strategy sounds familiar, but you just don't know what it is, that's called Qualified Charitable Deduction, or QCD. So essentially, you have to take out $10,000 from your IRA because the IRS mandates it. You can give $5,000 to a qualified charity. They don't pay taxes, you don't pay taxes, and it goes towards sufficing what you're required to take out. An absolutely powerful strategy, not only from a charitable giving standpoint, but also a tax planning strategy once you're over 70 and a half.
And QCDs can be a powerful tax planning strategy.
They can. So if, say we have somebody in the first year of taking their required minimum distributions, they decide for whatever reason in their situation it makes the most sense for them to take both those RMDs, year 1 and year 2, in the same calendar year. If that situation is going to bump them up to the next tax bracket, say by $10,000, and that's not something that they want to do, then now we can use a QCD, a qualified charitable distribution, to take that $10,000 that's say in the 22% tax bracket instead of the 12%, and go ahead and gift that to qualified charity, and then you're not paying tax on it, you're not bumped up into the next tax bracket up, and everybody wins.
And part of the reason this strategy is so powerful is because many families are already gifting anyway. Many families they retire at 62, they're gifting to their church or to a community, a charitable organization within their community. They're already doing this, but now at 70 and a half, they're mandated to take out this money, pay taxes on it that a lot of times they don't even want to take out at all, but they have to pay taxes on it. So now they can suffice both of their required distribution and the charitable givings and save money on taxes.
Okay, we get a lot of questions about required minimum distributions or RMDs, and here's one from Roger in Pleasant Hill. Roger wants to know, how do I calculate my RMD? If you have a question that you'd like to see answered on the show, you can text it to the number on your screen. We will answer Roger's questions and continue celebrating 70 and a half when Retiring Today continues.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkel Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me?
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
Welcome back to Retiring Today. Here's a look at our Ask the Advisor question for today. Again, it was Roger from Pleasant Hill. Roger wants to know, how do I calculate my RMD? Roger, thanks for texting in that question. Feel free to text in questions you have, and we'll try to answer them right here on the show. That telephone number is on your screen right now. I'm here with two people who know the answer to that question, Loren Merkle and Abby Huntrods. And you guys sit down with people, and I was trying to get my mind around kind of calculating RMDs before we started rolling again, and it's kind of complicated because you can have several accounts. So what's it? How do you answer this question for people, Loren?
Roger, it can be really complex, so we're going to give you the simple answer to this. But again, we cannot stress enough, make sure that you are calculating these the right way, because there are some one-off calculations that we just can't cover here on the show. So it's an excellent opportunity for you to consult a qualified tax planning professional or retirement planning professional to make sure you're doing it the right way. But there's two primary IRS tax tables. If it's your IRA, then the IRS calls it Table 3. And all it is, it's a life expectancy calculation, which means that what the IRS is trying to do is get you to deplete your accounts over the course of your lifetime, because this is money you've never paid taxes on, and they want to collect the tax revenue from this money. So to make this easy, at 70 and a half, you would divide your prior year ending account balance by 27.4. And that's going to give you the dollar amount that you're going to have to take out. Okay. From a percentage standpoint, because most people ask us, what's the percent we have to take out? Roughly that totals about 3.65%. Every year you get older, that percentage climbs up a little bit higher and higher. If the IRA we're discussing is an inherited IRA, now there's a different table you'll use Table 1, and you'll apply the same type of math, it's just based on different numbers. So again, it can be complex. Make sure you're consulting somebody, a qualified tax professional. Make sure you are doing it right, because if you do it wrong, it's a 50% penalty on the amount you did not take out. And that's a steep penalty we don't want you to have, Roger.
And are these calculations just on one of the accounts you have, Abby, or are you putting in the total amount of all your accounts together?
As far as the IRS is concerned, they're going to look at the total of all of your pre-tax accounts. And to kind of touch a little bit more on what Loren had mentioned, it gets complex. You can't always consolidate all those accounts into one balance and take it from a single account. If you have different types of accounts, like a 403B, you have to specifically take your RMD from the 403B for that account. So complex stuff, definitely make sure you are consulting with a qualified professional.
But this is a large part of what it is that we do for the families we work with. This is all part of that tax planning, the income planning components of the Merkel retirement method. This stuff is really important, and we have to make sure we get it right. So when we talk about retirement planning and how important it is, and you only get one shot to get it right, this is largely the kind of stuff that we're talking about. Because you don't retire, or you don't want to retire 2, 3, 4 different times, so you haven't experienced a lot of these different nuances that we do on a daily basis. So this is a lot of the value that we add, because if you're 72, and we do see this, even 75, last year I think a gentleman 75 years old has never taken a required minimum distribution, so he's supposed to take 4 or 5 of them, never took one. Now that's 50% penalty on every single distribution, and that adds up in a hurry. It's all about how do you get more of your money in your pocket, how do you keep more of your money in your pocket and less in penalties and taxes.
Okay, so today we have been talking about 70 and a half. That's what our cake says on it. But 59 and a half is another important birthday, and there's some good information on that. We put it on our YouTube channel. We did a whole show on 59 and a half and some of the rules that come into play there, so you can check it out on our YouTube channel. But for 70 and a half, we've got some takeaways from this episode. Loren, start us off.
Well, one of the takeaways is plan for your RMDs as early as you can, and really that's a great takeaway for all of these different strategies that we're talking about. It just so happens we're focusing a lot on the RMDs today. The sooner you can plan for them, the sooner, the better, the more strategies are really going to work in your favor. And again, it's about what you get to keep. It's about what you get to spend. It's no longer about what you make. What do you get to keep? What do you get to spend?
Abby, what's another takeaway from the show?
If you have goals to do charitable giving in retirement, absolutely explore the option of using those required minimum distributions to do that. If those RMDs are not money that you need to maintain your standard of living, it's a great way to pay less in tax yourself and make your money go further, because the charity that's receiving that distribution also isn't going to have to pay tax on that money.
Okay, and the last takeaway, Loren?
The last takeaway, what I talked about in the first takeaway, was plan for RMDs as soon as you can. But once you're 70 and a half, you still need to have a plan for these ongoing required distributions. These required minimum distributions do not go away until your account balance goes away. So as long as you have these pre-tax monies, you're going to have to account for it in your plan. What we do on a yearly basis, actually multiple times per year with our families, we talk about it. We say, here's the amount you're going to have to take out. What are your ambitions? What are your goals? What are you trying to accomplish? Do we incorporate a QCD? Do we need to buy a new car this year? What kind of trips are you trying to go on? And have a plan for the following year of how you intend to use these monies. Because again, you have to take them out. You're gonna pay taxes on it unless we implement some cool tax strategies. We just want to make sure there's a plan in place to make sure that you are doing the best that you can.
And when it comes to retiring, this is just one piece of the puzzle. There are lots of things to talk about, and Abby, you go over a lot more in depth at the Passport to Retirement classes.
Yes, the Passport class is a 2.5-hour class where we cover each of the 5 components of the Merkel retirement method. So we're going to touch on income planning, which is a huge piece of the pie. You know, you have to make Social Security decisions, you might have to make pension decisions, but then where do you supplement your income needs with the rest of your investable assets? We're going to talk about tax planning. We talked a little bit about it today, but there's a lot more that goes into that. We're going to talk about healthcare and long-term care planning. We're going to talk about the legacy piece, which again, we're all going to have a last day, so we want to make sure that those assets that you've worked so hard for transfer to your beneficiaries in the most efficient way possible. And then the last piece is the investment planning piece, which is the piece that everybody does, but it is also another huge component of the overall plan.
2.5 hours seems like a long time, but people tell us all the time is it just flew by. And we have yet to have anybody fall asleep in the class. So that's a big win. When we're talking about this stuff for 2.5 hours long, from 6 to 8:30 p.m., it seems like a lot, but it goes really quick. It's interactive. We talk. We have an opportunity for everybody in the class to ask any questions that they have. We have a workbook that we give out, so we make it goes by pretty quick, and people walk out of there with some good learning experiences.
Well, and especially too for those who are maybe 5 to 10 years out from retirement. Right now that's not the kind of information I need in my life, but man, if retirement's coming, you may not think you need it, but you go in there and you're probably like, oh, I hadn't thought about that. Like, there's a lot to learn.
There's 10,000 people retiring every single day. 10,000 people retiring every single day. This is the type of information that 10,000 people want. It's just hard to find. 74% of people feel unprepared going to retirement. They just don't feel ready. And one of the hardest things that they find to do is, where do you get started? You talk about the RMDs, you talk about 70.5, 59.5, what does all this stuff mean? And it's just easy to procrastinate, say, I'm gonna worry about that another day, and then you wake up and retirement's here, and now you have to decide, of the 81 different Social Security strategies that you have, which ones are you gonna pick? And that's a permanent decision after 12 months. A lot of these decisions are permanent decisions. The hardest part is to get started. One of the easiest things you can do to get started is to attend the Passport class. We don't charge anything for the class, so you have absolutely no risk, and you have your whole retirement to gain.
Okay, so if you're interested in the Passport to Retirement classes, there's some resources that you should know about. There's a number you can text. It's on your screen right now. Go ahead and text Passport, and a member of the team will reach out to you. There's a website and there's a phone number. There's a lot of chances for you to get educated about your retirement future, and one of them is this show. It's Retiring Today, and we thank you for watching.
You have worked for a long time. There are so many decisions to make about your retirement. How much income do you need? How not to run out of money? Now is your chance, and you get one shot to get it right. Attend Merkel Retirement Planning's Passport to Retirement. We will discuss how to create tax-free income, how to avoid the next market meltdown, and how to wring every dime out of Social Security. Your time is now. Classes fill quickly. Call or text today. Zero cost to attend.
It's your retirement. How will you live it? How will you be remembered?
Will you be able to take me on vacation?
Will you be there for my ball games?
Will you teach me your values? You'll be able to play with me.
Oh, help me go to college. How will I remember you?
Have the retirement you dream about. Contact us today.
From our family to yours, we hope you have a wonderful weekend.
We hope you enjoy the show.
We'll see you next week.